What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 106. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hello.
How's your week been, buddy?
We good.
It's been good?
Yeah. It's hot, but...
It is hot.
Always hot, yeah.
It's always hot. That's good to hear that it's been good. My week has been well.
Good.
Going swimmingly. But... ladies and gentlemen, you're not here to hear us talk about our personal lives. You're here to hear us talk about video games and all the happenings in the video game industry. Me and Connor come to you every week, Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygamescast, and mainstream podcast services of your choice, in which we bring you the new news circling the industry. We each come to you with two topics, 2 pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. However, if just talking about video games isn't enough, you want to see some gamers have some real gaming moments, well then hop on over to twitch.tv/2pennygames, in which me and my good buddy Phil, we put on a little show called Hype, Hyep, Have You Ever Played, in which right now, we are showing Phil for the first time Resident Evil 4. And if you've been listening to the show, you know that this episode, at the end of this episode, me and Connor have been playing Resident Evil 4 for our video game book club sequence, the 2 Penny Game Club. And we will be reviewing that at the end of the episode here. And there'll be a breakout video review for that as well. So keep an eye on that. Or just stick around for it. But... let's get right into the news. First topic of the day. Connor, your first penny. I'm struggling to type in things. There we go. First penny. Activision Blizzard workers walk out over lack of Roe v. Wade support. This is a Kotaku article by CC Jiang. Worth noting, this article, a little old. We missed it last week. It flew under our radar, but we care about the people here on this show, so we thought we'd double back and show our support for these ABK workers here. So, getting into the article, employees from Activision Blizzard walked off their jobs on the 21st in order to demand protections for the staff members impacted by the loss of abortion rights in the United States. The walkouts impacted studios in California, Texas, Minnesota, and New York. A Better ABK, organized under Communications Workers of America, issued a statement of demands directed at their employer, Activision Blizzard, that include relocation assistance for those working out of discriminatory states, cost of living adjustments for relocations, and guaranteed abortion access in employees' health care plans. Some of the demands relate to labor rights more broadly, such as the right to choose remote work, including employees in sexual harassment audits, and for the company to sign a labor neutrality agreement like Microsoft. According to the Washington Post, 450 employees had been participating in the walkout at the time the article was written. Some participated in person, while others participated virtually in Zoom. The Irvine Mayor Farah Khan and a representation from Congresswoman Katie Porter's office also came to support the walkout. Quote, "We are supporting our workers at Blizzard today, where female workers have continuously faced harassment and working conditions haven't improved," Khan tweeted. Quote, "This cannot continue through next year in hopes that Microsoft will do better." So yeah, shout out, continue fighting, continue that work, continue building a better industry for us, and hopefully just a better fucking country for us here. States that are affected, you know, we live here in Texas, and we are affected by the overturning of Roe v. Wade. President Biden had signed an executive order negating that decision, but, you know, who knows how long that'll actually do anything. So...
this was a necessary thing for the workers to do, because one thing that I know has happened in Texas, I believe it was the Attorney General who was bringing up the idea, is to punish companies that give their employees benefits like the ones that are being demanded here to try and cut down on the people getting abortions. So there is genuine, worry that without a company's help, employees will just get screwed over. And that's just not good for the workplace environment to just have your employees suffer in that way. Especially at a place like, Blizzard, which... we all know the accusations and the things that have come out of there, which, ties into the story because it also makes me think that nothing's going to come from this, unfortunately. Blizzard itself is trying to pawn off everything to Microsoft. That's due to happen sometime soon. And in the meantime, what can you expect from the company that tried to silence news about the sexual harassment going on in their own, state of business, in their own business? They're not going to want to do anything about this. It would just be more work for them, and they're pretty adamant at avoiding things like this.
Which is why it's important that we keep the pressure on, keep following these stories, keep openly critiquing and showing them with our wallets why those heads at Activision Blizzard that are abusing their power, why they're in the wrong, and that if things continue this way, they'll no longer be supported. It's also worth noting, I'm gonna throw in there right there, abortion is a healthcare issue. There's a lot more factors than just the birth of a child that happens with abortion, and if you don't know, you should educate yourself.
There's lots of stories of people, who didn't want to get rid of a child, but maybe the child died. Maybe there's not a chance that they're going to come out alive and the mother's life is in danger. And in some cases, they've just been either very slow to make a decision, which could cost the mother their life, and has happened in the past before, most definitely. And it just creates an extremely nasty situation. It goes beyond just someone getting pregnant and wanting an abortion because they don't want the baby. It's way more complicated than just that, which that alone is, obviously someone's own right to choose with what they choose, get to choose what they do with their own body, but
also, you can't be pro-life and then not believe in universal health care, not believe in free public education, not believe in health benefits, and like the argument for pro-life only counts up until birth, and then from there on, you're on your own. Fuck you. You don't care. But moving on to someone who they might actually care, Connor. Moving on to our second topic of the day, a bit of light news and some confusing news, and let's be honest, it's a mixed bag here because the internet is the internet. But we got some details on GTA 6. We're pulling a Gamatsu article by Sal Romano. Bloomberg, Grand Theft Auto 6 to include playable female protagonist. Rockstar Games cleans up work environment. Grand Theft Auto 6 will include a playable female protagonist, according to a Bloomberg report by Jason Schreier, citing people familiar with the development. The woman, who is Latina, will reportedly be one of a pair of leading characters in a story influenced by bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde. In contrast to previous games, developers are also being cautious not to, quote, punch down by making jokes about marginalized groups. Original plans for GTA 6, codenamed Project Americas, were for it to be more vast than any Grand Theft Auto game to date, with early designs calling for the inclusion of territories modeled after large swaths of North and South America, the people said. But in its current state, the main map has been cut down to a fictional version of Miami and its surrounding areas. Rockstar Games' plan now is reported to update GTA 6 over time, adding new missions and cities on a regular basis, and hopefully leading to less crunch during the game's final month of development. Despite this, the game's world is said to remain large, with more interior locations than any previous GTA game. All of this comes as part of a report about Rockstar Games' attempts to reinvent itself as a more progressive and compassionate workplace, with Bloomberg citing interviews with more than 20 people who work there currently or left recently. Some of those changes include restructuring the design department to keep overtime under control, changes to scheduling, converting contractors to full-time employees, the ousting of several managers employees saw as abusive or difficult to work with, new mental health and leave benefits, a flexi-time policy that allows staff to immediately take time off for every extra hour worked, and a promise that excessive overtime will not be required for Grand Theft Auto 6. Unlike the company's major releases in the past. More producers have also been added to keep track of schedules, and while that has been a mostly positive move, it has also caused bottlenecks, as some employees said they found themselves waiting to communicate through middlemen or felt like multiple people were in charge. None of the Rockstar Games employees interviewed by Bloomberg knew of a firm release date for GTA 6, but said that they expect the game is at least 2 years away from release. Connor, start with the people. Rockstar Games, of course, heavily criticized after their 2018 release of Red Dead Redemption 2, where one of the game, I believe it was the game director, was quoted practically bragging about his writers spending 100-hour work weeks making sure or getting the game done and finished. And who knows, programmers and artists and everyone else across the board who had to put in, I'm sure, ridiculous number of hours to get that game out. Firstly, I'm impressed that they heard us and said, yo, that's not cool. Y'all need to fix that. And it seems like they're taking steps to fix it. It's obviously not a perfect system. A lot of confusion. We're still getting that chain of command figured out and how to get the best system going. But
that's a logistical problem, which isn't a negative thing, but it's a negative thing, but it's not immoral.
No, it's a problem that needs to be fixed, and let's be gracious enough to give them time to fix these logistical problems. I love the flexi time policy, being able to take off for every extra hour worked. That's great. My 9 to 5, I worked until 8 yesterday. I'm not coming in until 11. That works for me if that's how that works. I don't know.
Yeah. Sounds good from how they put it in this article.
It does indeed. More full-time employees, changes to scheduling, keeping overtime down, getting rid of some abusive managers, mental health benefits. All of this sounds great. Hats off to Rockstar for taking some initiative and actually putting in some steps to clean up their work environment.
Yeah.
As expected, though, I would assume that means GTA 6 just in general is going to take longer to get out the door. But I also assume it's going to be a better product for those reasons.
Listen, Rockstar is making money hand over foot playing GTA 5. That game's still
GTA Online makes them billions of dollars, and it still very often appears in top 10 lists for highest sold games of the month and so on and so forth. So,
not really, needing to rush this out the gate in order to, appease fans. They don't really seem people want GTA 6, obviously, but there's content there for them to play around with, and I'm assuming there'll be more updates. I'm guessing somewhere somehow.
Yeah. What's funny is recently we covered a story about GTA 6. And both you and I were like, you know what? I don't know if I'm too excited about it. I'll play it when it comes out. It's too big not to play. But I don't know. Now hearing some of these details about the game itself, and let's dig into something this. One of the playable, or it will include a playable female protagonist, one of 2 leading characters. Does that mean there's 2 playable characters? Does that mean it's one or more than 2? Is it just the one? I don't know.
I guess based off the Bonnie and Clyde comment, it seems like it's delegated to just 2 people.
Yeah.
Switching between them.
I would assume so as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is a smart move. I feel like the trifecta of GTA 5, it was successful, but it wasn't like the most successful experiment of having 3 main playable protagonists that you can switch to at any time. And I think, they were so separate in their daily lives, and then they would come together at certain story points.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like, it was you basically gave me 3 different stories that just connected every once in a while. I think these 2 being so tightly knit and closer together, sure, being able to switch back and forth, maybe you get to pick which one you get to play as on each mission or whatever. All of that sounds exciting to me. And you know what? I'm really into a lot of the ideas that are being detailed here. The return of the Miami City. What is it called?
Vice City.
I believe it is Vice City. Yes, Vice City is returning. That's exciting for old players. I never played those old GTAs, so I don't have any connection to that city. But I'm excited to explore it. I'm not excited that it's going to be so big. I think one of the detriments to Red Dead Redemption 2 and arguably even GTA 5 is that they're so fucking big. Those stories go on too long. They drive me fucking bananas. It's just like at some point I just can't care. When we hit that certain number of hours played, I just can't care about your overbloated story and your characters who refuse to make a choice.
Yeah. Partly the reason why I think I'm still not sold on the whole GTA 6 experience. Obviously it could wow me in some way. Some key changes to gameplay, which is what I would really like for a GTA 6. But as you said, it just the world itself was a bit too big. Mainly the story. It just went on and on and on, and I was bored by the end of it.
Yeah,
same with Red Dead actually. Rockstar has been drawing out their game stories in their past 2
and they've always been long, but they're just so long now. And do we really need all of that? This idea of oh, hey, it was going to be a way bigger game, including multiple cities and so forth. That's interesting to me. How are we? But now we're singling in, we're focusing on this one city, and then we'll add the rest later. More interior, more like explorable interior locations. That's exciting to me.
Yeah.
Let me live in the city, like, and not have it feel like a bunch of cardboard boxes in which some of them I can enter, but most of them I can't.
Yeah.
If I can go into some houses, I can go into some corporate buildings, I can hit more gas stations or grocery shops or clothing stores and stuff like that, and shop around and things like that. Anything to make sort of the simulation elements of these games more immersive. I'm into all of that. That sounds fun. Instead of wide scopes, I prefer denser games. Games that, like, sure, your map size is a certain size, but what's in the map? I much prefer a smaller map with lots to do in them, and where I can, like, move around and sort of learn the city streets and all of that, instead of just wide breadths of nothing. Which is my problem with GTA 5's map. The northern part of that map is just nothing.
Yeah, drive and drive and drive. And then I remember, like, on GTA Online, if you got, like, trapped out there for whatever reason,
you just end up spending 45 minutes, not 45 minutes. You end up spending 5 minutes just driving back to all the interesting places, So it's just kind of like, okay. However, adding stories and adding cities later, GTA 5 got heavily criticized for not really having any story DLC. Single-player story DLC, that is. That kind of sounds like what this is just some hopefully free updates where the story continues and we continue along our path with these characters and so forth. I'm hoping that doesn't distract from our narrative. I hope we have a clear beginning, middle, end of this Bonnie and Clyde duo. And then maybe we switch to a different character for a different story in these other locations. Or maybe, these stories kind of are just ancillary stories that aren't, critical to the plot, that you can go off and explore and do certain things with our main leads or something. Because I assume if it's inspired by Bonnie and Clyde, that didn't end well for them.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming I know the end of this game.
if it's really trying to be true to the whole Bonnie and Clyde theme that they're addressing here.
But yeah, I'm interested in to see how all of that works, how that comes to us, the consumer, and in what structure. Yeah. Any of this really speaking to you?
Like I said, it's really gonna have to be presented to me. To actually, these are just words on a screen.
Yep.
It sounds good. I won't lie. It sounds like they have some interesting things in the works, but whether those are actually practically used, it's gonna be the first GTA game since Red Dead 2, which didn't do too much crazy new things. Obviously, the game looked better, it played better, but it didn't do much to wow me other than just the better story in comparison to Red Dead 1. So as far as improvements from 5 to 6, I don't really know what to expect at this point. So I'll see what they want to shove down my throat, and then maybe I'll buy it.
See what they
But good that they cleaned up their workspace.
That's really the main takeaway here. Is good on y'all for trying to implement a system that works. And I would assume it sounds like the employees are in a happier space now than what they were.
I mean, it seems like the only criticism those ones that were interviewed were told that were occurring were the bottleneck issues. So, as far as we know,
which is unfortunate, but we'll figure it out.
That's what you deal with in the workplace.
This is a great step.
Yeah.
Great step. And hopefully with Rockstar being as big as they are, just in general, hopefully that means that we can see examples of this throughout all of the industry going forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Moving on. Topic number 2. This is the GTA 6 was my first penny. This is my second penny of the day. Connor, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake has been delayed indefinitely, and I'm pretty bummed about this.
Yeah, actually, not the best news.
No, it's not great. So we're pulling a Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game paused amid studio shakeup. A hotly anticipated new Star Wars game is in serious trouble, according to people familiar with the project. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a remake of the 2003 role-playing game, is delayed indefinitely as developers at Austin, Texas-based Aspire Media, try to figure out what comes next. Aspire also abruptly fired the game's art director and design director this month. In a series of meetings throughout July, Aspire's 2 studio heads told employees that the project is on pause and that the company will look for new contracts and development opportunities, said the people, who were not authorized to speak publicly about the situation. Knights of the Old Republic was to be one of the first modern Star Wars console games released outside of Electronic Arts, which had previously held the exclusive licensing. Something's up with my nose, man. Do I sound nasally? I feel nasally.
A little bit.
A little bit?
It's not super noticeable, though.
Games released outside of Electronic Arts, which had previously held the exclusive licensing rights. That deal expires in 2023, opening the door for new Star Wars games from outside companies like Aspire, Ubisoft Entertainment SA, and Quantic Dream SA. The game was announced last September and has been in development for nearly 3 years at Aspire, which was purchased by Sweden's Embracer Group, AB, last year. Aspire, founded in 1996, was best known as a service shop that brought existing video games to other platforms such as iOS, including the original Knights of the Old Republic games. On June 30th, Aspire finalized a demo of the game, known as a vertical slice, to show the production partners Lucasfilm Ltd. LLC and Sony Group Corp. The developers were excited about it and felt like they were on track, according to a person familiar with the project, so they were shocked by what happened next. The following week, the company fired design director Brad Prince and art director Jason Miner. Neither responded to requests for comment, but Miner suggested on his social media page that his dismissal was unexpected. Representatives for Aspire and Embracer didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Aspire studio heads told staff that the vertical slice wasn't where they wanted it to be and that the project would be paused, according to 2 people who were in the meeting. One person familiar with the discussion suggested that a disproportionate amount of time and money had gone into the demo and that the project's current course wasn't sustainable. Another point of contention may be the timeline. At the outset of development, Aspire told staff and partners it would release the game by the end of 2022. According to 2 people familiar with the production, developers said a more realistic target now would be 2025. The fate of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remains unclear. In May, Embracer announced that Saber Interactive would also join the project. Some at Aspire believe that Saber, which has mainly been doing outsourcing work for the project, may take it over completely.
Bad news for Star Wars fans getting good games.
Yeah, man, this is a bummer. But arguably not that unexpected. Yeah. Aspire is a porting studio. They've ported a lot of games. Both, I think most recently, KOTOR and KOTOR 2 were ported to Switch by them most recently, riddled with bugs. KOTOR 2 specifically, you couldn't even finish the game.
Yeah,
because it would
one little bit screwed it all up.
Yeah, it broke up here. Let me Saber Interactive. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what they're responsible for. Evil Dead, World War Z, Showrunner, Time Shift, 2007. Ghostbusters, the video game, 2009. Okay, so Evil Dead, the game, is their most recent thing. Okay, another Shrug studio. Great.
Maybe it's not the maybe it's not the maybe it's not gonna come.
Who knows, man? I mean, PlayStation got what they wanted out of this. They used the remake to sell PS5s, and they're selling PS5s. Granted, I saw a headline this week that said, hey, sales have dropped, but that's because of supply chain issues and stuff. So, of course, they're going to put them out as fast as they can. We just can't get them. Mm-hmm. The whole point of KOTOR, it was announced 2 years ago in that it wasn't a state of play. Was it just a console announcement release thing? I forget what it was. It was announced same time with Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. That was just a showcase. It was just a PlayStation showcase. So yeah, that was just to sell PlayStation 5s. It's where we got that first real God of War Ragnarok gameplay. And it did exactly what it needed to do for PlayStation. It made some headlines, created some shockwaves. People bought some PlayStation 5s. From there, I don't think PlayStation, even though it's a PS exclusive game, I don't think PlayStation cares too much about this game. It's not done in studio. It's done outside of their studio. So it's, it's water off of their back. They don't care. Yeah. But, it's just unfortunate that I think to me it's clear that a team that is not ready for a game size of this scope, I just don't think they're ready for it. And granted, it is a remake, so there are some bones there, but I think a lot of that is just going to be story based and dialogue and so forth. Everything else has to be completely rebuilt because that gameplay does not hold up in today's day and age. I played it for the first time in 2020 and had a great time. I love Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It's probably still my favorite Star Wars game right now. A lot of people's. And, some herald it as the greatest game of all time. And it's certainly an excellent game, and BioWare really, that was right before their peak where they take off with Dragon Age and they take off with Mass Effect and so forth. But you see a lot of the DNA in those games in KOTOR. And I think it's still worth playing, but just know that you're in for a very old game.
Yeah.
So this game would need more of a Final Fantasy VII remake type treatment, in that gameplay needs to be completely overhauled into more of an action RPG type thing. The original KOTOR is not turn-based, but it's not real-time at all.
Okay.
It's some weird middle ground where at the time, we just didn't know how to do it the way they wanted to do it. So, it's strange. It's a strange game looking back on it in today's modern era. But it would need a complete rework, and I think everybody knows the story or the big twist of this game, and I'm not going to say it here for those few ears that may not know. But
it's not going to hit the same way.
I feel like something needs to be done to that story. We need something else there to kind of tweak it and stuff.
It's like you said, the Final Fantasy remake treatment mightn't be very applicable here. I think
Right?
They have more time to work on it.
But I don't know if these creatives have that type of gusto, I was expecting a pretty traditional retelling of that story, along with, hopefully some really fun combat and really fun gameplay and really good RPG mechanics, really flush out a lot of those worlds and details, make those mini games playable, because those mini games are not playable in the day and age. And hopefully some good lightsaber and blaster combat. The thing about KOTOR is you don't pick up a lightsaber in that game for 15 hours. You are deep into that game before you pick up a lightsaber. So I think it's that might be a bit extreme. It's probably closer to 8 to 10 hours.
Sure.
But still, it's a while. And with a more fleshed out experience that you would get, that time would probably only extend. And so you're dealing with shooting mechanics, you're dealing with sword mechanics, you're dealing with cover-based mechanics, you're dealing with a lot. On top of all the RPG things and the dialogue, that's a lot for multiple planets, multiple different environments and worlds that need to be fully realized and with high fidelity graphics and all that in the modern age, on taking advantage of the PlayStation 5. It's not surprising to me that this team fell short and is continuing to fall short. And Saber Interactive might overtake this project completely. I could see this entire project just being nope, and Disney being all right, we're gonna hand you off to somebody else. It being a BioWare, giving it back to BioWare, or maybe giving it to Bluepoint, or some other PlayStation studio or something like that.
Bluepoint would work.
Huh?
Actually, now that I think about it, I'm surprised that they didn't somehow get a hold of this game.
That wasn't their first thing after Demon Souls. I can't believe that this wasn't, because the timeline would have added up, pretty evenly, because that announcement was shortly after Demon Souls was released. So I would have, I really would have liked to seen Bluepoint's take on it. My only thing is that Bluepoint hasn't reinvigorated any gameplay mechanics into any of the games they've remade so far.
Yeah.
They've just updated it, modernized it, made it feel good. Shadow of the Colossus plays like Shadow of the Colossus, just has an updated control scheme and it feels better to play. Demon Souls is Demon Souls again, but just smoother, better. Yeah. Whereas this would need a reinvention of systems from the ground up.
So maybe not the best in that regard.
Who knows? I would like to see Bluepoint expand and maybe take some more creative control in the projects that they're creating. But maybe they're more focused on just keeping it as pure to the experience as possible, even though we did see changes in both of those games. Things were different. New environments were created for Demon Souls. New missions were created for Demon Souls. New items and so forth. So I don't know. I'd love to know what Bluepoint is doing. This would work very well for them, but I'd also, I could see it from any other crazy studio. I don't understand why we're not going back to BioWare for this.
Maybe it's because BioWare hasn't been the most up on their game.
Well, they're busy. They're busy doing these other things, but do I really want another Mass Effect? I don't know, man. I'm happy with my Legendary Edition. After that, it could have been this, and I would have loved to see BioWare's more modern take on what this could have been. We'll see.
Between this and Eclipse, Star Wars games are not really getting out the gate.
Well, we still have Jedi Survivor to look forward to, which I think is pretty solid. Lego Star Wars came out, was pretty solid title, pretty close to being a banger. That Lego Star Wars, and then we have all those Respawn games coming down the Ubisoft from Massive. The Division guys are doing their thing. We'll see. Star Wars games, they're coming. They're coming. We're having some choices here. We got, I'm excited for a lot of them. This story has dampened my excitement for this one specifically, though.
I would bet it would.
Yeah. Connor, moving on to our final topic of the day, and your final penny. What's going on with your little Nier friends over there? Your little weird Nier Automata friends over here. So, some background on this, because we're pulling a Fanbyte article from Imran Khan here for it, but he doesn't give the full story because he links to another story. So some footage popped up on Reddit in which someone said, "Hey, how do you enter the church? Need help entering the church. I've been playing this game. I got to the church. My friend is playing and he can't get in. Why can't he get in it?" And the footage shown, it seemed like this was the perspective of some kid who, he was just yo, my friend can't get in here, but I'm in here. How did this happen? And the story is that it was just a unexplorable, it wasn't an area of the game. It just wasn't. It was not a playable area. No one had ever seen this footage before. So
yeah, the player opened a door that was against a wall, and they went into a new area.
Yeah, it never seen before. So a lot of people were like, "Man, did this kid figure out how to play 1.0 version of this game? Is this a cut content area? What's going on here?" A lot of theories going back and forth. A lot of people thought it meant a lot for the world of Nier as a whole, and maybe a hint towards what their next project is they're working on. And it turned out not to be the case. So, jumping in now, the Nier Automata Church was a clever, entertaining fake. Despite modders saying it cannot be done, other modders went ahead and did it. Earlier this week, we reported on a strange church that had seemingly been discovered in Nier Automata via a Reddit post in the Nier community. At the time, no one really knew what was going on, but no real answer seemed to make sense. Now, it has been revealed that the whole thing is a very clever and well-made fake. We can start to look back at the evidence and put the pieces together. The story linked above shows how a person came to Reddit and cryptically, through a supposed youth and inexperience, revealed unseen content from Nier Automata, a church in the copied city that presented cascading references to Nier Replicant as more and more was shown this week. Over the week, the mask increasingly began to slip, with user Sad Futago no longer taking the role of a child whose mother won't let them upload videos to YouTube from the PlayStation 4. Instead, they started posting stranger things like giant statue-esque models of the Intoners from Drakengard 3, seemingly ripped from the game's infamous final boss fight, captured simply Zinnia, and using the flare Help, the posts continued until they revealed a Twitch channel connected to the Zinnia name, where they wrote that all would be revealed in a few hours in Japanese. As the countdown started to the eventual finale, the community got progressively more unhinged. The Twitch chat became a flood of ASCII art of Emil's face, while hundreds of users kept reposting "Become as Gods," a chant used by robots absorbed in a religious fervor in a later chapter of Automata. Most everyone had at this point come around to the idea that this was a fake, but they were largely just along for the ride. The full VOD of the stream can be found, but ultimately it was revealed that the entire thing had in fact been work of mods. The three modders involved, Devolus Revenge, Woeful Wolf, and Raider B, showed the full extent of the new content that had been created in a video that explained the deception. The group implied that they were planning for a much more drawn-out reveal, but the fact that this had gone so far outside the bubble of just the Nier community convinced them to rush the timeline a bit. At the end of the video, a slide reading "Thank you" came on screen, pointing out that absolutely everything was shown in-game using new mod content tools. The three had been working on this for years and plan to release these tools to the public in the coming weeks. You might ask how this could be done, how this could be a mod when actual modders swore up and down that it's not feasible with what current modding is capable of, and that's a pretty good question to ask, so I asked them. Because it is, said one modder in the Discord who was vocal that this was unlikely to be a mod and did not want to be named out of fear of harassment. Quote, "The things they showed were way beyond where Nier Automata was at the time. We didn't know they were way beyond it too. I imagine that for the modders involved, it must feel pretty good to see people talk about how the quality of your work is actually impossible." Another theory up until the reveal was that the content was created by Square Enix as a marketing beat for the game and its upcoming Switch port. This was bolstered by Yoko Taro acknowledging it but refusing to answer, as well as other Square Enix employees not just saying it's fake from the get-go. This is maybe explained by Square Enix's strange relationship with mods, where they chose not to say anything either way about them out of fear that it will draw attention to the idea of modding. The whole thing, at least on some level, was also free marketing and good for sales, so no one seemed to be eager to simply end it.
They got him! Which is funny because when I first saw that church scene on Twitter, because people were going crazy.
It hit my timeline.
Yeah. There was someone, one of the top comments was saying, like, this is not mod. This is impossible. This couldn't have been modded.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I guess it was just some weird thing that somebody missed because it was, games have little secrets in them that are missable all the time.
Fucking gotcha.
But it kept advancing, and now here we are.
We are.
Funny, good way to do this. Very good way to do this.
I mean, is it? You just pissed off a bunch of people on the internet.
Yes, exactly.
Because, if it was, stuck within the modding community, that's one thing. But, it went to the game as a whole. So now you got a bunch of Nier fans who aren't modders yelling at you, being like, what the fuck, man? I thought this was a thing. And then you have, just regular gamers just being, assholes now on the internet and so forth. But the hoax, the idea that three people are sitting here, they're working, their heads are down, they're sitting there, oh, man, we're creating this really cool thing. This is really dope. How do we reveal this to people in a way that, is meaningful and will mean something outside of just our community? The idea of let's pretend to be just some kid. And, he recorded some stuff off of his PlayStation 4 and uploaded it. And, he got in trouble with his mom. And it's, let's pretend like it's his friend who can't get in or something. Yeah. It's elaborate and it's funny, but man, it's a very entertaining story. Yeah. It's a good story. This is something I hope that we all collectively remember for a long time of remember when this happened? Because that's funny.
Hey, you can bring new content to the game as well with new modding.
Exactly. And just as a way to just wave that big dick talent around that you got and just be like, yo, we did this, they didn't think it was possible. We had headlines going on for a week of this is impossible. It has to be a hidden area that we just never found before. And the fact that even the game devs were like, interesting. We're not saying anything, but interesting.
Yoko Taro is a pretty funny guy. He's done funny things in the past in relation to his game. He goes along with jokes that the community brings up.
I love that they were just pretending. Yep. They were because the Yoko Taro knows. He knows. He's like, that's not in the game. He goes, okay. All right, I'm going to let them have their fun. I'm going to see how this plays out.
And then says something and doesn't deny it.
Yeah.
And then he knew what he was doing.
Well, that's what, when it landed on my radar, is when he jumped in and said something. He said just whatever. He didn't really say anything. But it was just I saw that it was the creator of the game, and I went, oh, I guess that's real. Okay, I guess it's just some cut content that was locked off. Because you see that in games all the time. There's locked off areas that you just can't get to that are still in the game because it just took less time to delete it than it did just to put up a wall and say, don't go over there anymore. Yeah. And video games are often just really elaborate puzzle pieces that are broken up, and that's why we have loading screens and so forth. So it's just really funny, really interesting. I thought it was just a really cool, little neat story. So Fun time.
Funny time.
Speaking of fun times, Connor.
Was it though?
Was it though? Let's go ahead and jump into our review of Resident Evil 4. So real quick, I'm gonna set my little time code here, and I'm gonna re-intro the show. But nobody go anywhere. Don't anybody go anywhere. We're just re-introing. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to another Two Penny Game Club, our video game book club segment that we do over on the Two Penny Gamescast. Our full podcast that you can find at youtube.com/2pennygamescast every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello, Connor. Very nice. All right. Connor, last month, or every month, we come together, we play a game throughout the month. We don't talk about it on the podcast on our What We've Been Playing segment, because we do a full breakdown review of it on the first of every month. And this month, we did ourselves some Resident Evil 4.
First time playing it for myself.
This is the first time. This is the second time for me. And I'm just showing some B footage right here for it. Just letting that play right there. Connor, as a first-time player, what did you think of Resident Evil 4, my friend?
You know, I found it very fun. I enjoyed the entire length of the game. I had fun. You know, at the end, I could say that I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, okay, is it going to end here? But it ended perfectly. So I don't think it went on longer than I would have liked it to. The castle segment was a bit long, but overall the areas as they went were pretty well paced, well lengthened. I found, but I see a lot of what would be implemented in Resident Evil 5 in this game.
Yep.
So it made getting used to the controls very easy. The biggest criticism I have, that was always kind of a little annoyance throughout the entire length of the game, and even when I was first trying to find out how to play it, was the closeness of the camera. It is right up on you, and it feels like my field of vision, which I'm assuming it's kind of intended to limit your field of vision as much as possible, so things can come out of the corner and surprise you and make the game a little bit more difficult. But I just found it very annoying when I was just like, okay, I gotta move this shitty little camera that goes back into the place that it was already always in, just to even look around and be really close to me and not see items on the floor, and being like, okay, well, you know, obviously it lets you know what you're picking up.
Yeah.
It can give you the choice of not doing it, but I would rather just have a screen that would allow me to see everything, and I could just pick it up based on what it looks like on the ground, instead of going to the yes, no, do you want to pick it up? But, you know, that's a pretty minor problem. Graphically, there were some issues with the game, mainly the cutscenes, where they would look terrible.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, they were just like blurry, hard to make out details. I thought my screen was messing up, because I played it on my PS5 in my room that doesn't, you know, my TV doesn't really have issues, so I thought...
The PS4 port on PS5s, not the
PS5
PS5 even matters in this scenario.
No,
but continue.
Obviously did not, because the resolution on the screen would get terrible in those moments. And, you know, graphically the game's on its own without those blurry moments isn't great, but it's an old game, so obviously I'm not expecting much. It looks great for what would have been at the time, outdated now, but like I said, expected when you make these old games, you know, port these old games, not remake them. As far as criticisms beyond that, big ones that I can think of off the top of my head, a lot of the other aspects of the game I liked. You know, I found the shooting pretty easy to do. Resident Evil 2, one of the issues I would come up with is I would aim, and you saw it a lot.
The remake
of Resident Evil 2, where I'm missing a lot of shots, because it just doesn't feel like it's the spot the reticle stays on doesn't last very long. It moves over a lot of the place, and there's a lot of kickback. This one I felt like I would be able to aim at things a lot easier and get the shot off without there, just missing. I know that's me. I know I wasn't a good shot in Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Well, it's also very intentional in 2. Like, you're supposed to plot those shots out a lot more because every bullet matters so much more, whereas here, they just fucking flood you with ammunition here, and it's more of an action game than it is a survival horror one.
Yeah.
For context, real quick, because I forgot to say, you and I are both fans of Resident Evil, but more of the modern age Resident Evil from 7 on. You and I played 5 a whole lot as teenagers and so forth, and I think we both have a fondness for that game. But objectively, we can acknowledge that it's not the best game in the world, but we have a lot of fun with it. I think I'm closer to I wouldn't call myself a super fan, but I think I'm closer on that spectrum than you are.
By far,
And I'm Resident Evil 2 Remake is one of my favorite video games of all time.
Look how neat your inventory is.
Yeah, man, I keep it real tight, real organized.
For me, if it fits, that's it. It looked bad.
That shit is just messy.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Never had an issue.
Never had an issue. Where do we go? Oh, we're going to the El Gigante fight here.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I have played Resident Evil 4 once before, and it was only a few years ago. I want to say, I don't know, within the last 5 years, I played it for the first time. Whenever it came to PS4, that's when I played it. And playing it the first time, I was like, this is cool. This is fun. I didn't really get the hype behind, because this is still heralded as one of the greatest video games of all time. It's a lot of people's favorite video game of all time.
Definitely one of the most popular Resident Evil games.
Yeah, for sure. And it's still in a lot of circles heralded as the best Resident Evil game. Playing it the first time, I didn't get it. I had an okay time. I remember feeling like the second half was not as good as the first. And walking away overall just not overwhelmed or underwhelmed, just whelmed by it. This second time through, I liked it a lot more, actually.
Okay.
I had a lot more fun this time around. I still feel like the first half is stronger than the second half. You talk about, the different areas and stuff being well-paced. I disagree. I think specifically that third location is awful. The island, I think, is bad.
The island, really?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think a lot of the game's best ideas are in the first half of that game, mostly in the village segment, and then also they carry over into quite a bit of the castle. The castle is my personal favorite segment of the game.
Oh, I thought the town was, the village was.
No. I like the castle more. At least through this replay, I've discovered that I like the castle more. I have no real way of gauging why. I just think a lot of their inspiration, a lot of their creativity, and a lot of their what they wanted to do, they succeeded in within the first half of this game. I think easily the best boss fights are in the first half. And I think as we just keep going and going and going, the game becomes less intricate. The village, there's a lot of, you're backtracking, there's hidden collectibles, there's little secret treasures that you can knock down, and if you shoot them before, doing something else, they become less valuable and so forth. There's multiple of those treasures of oh, here's a mask, but it's got 3 holes in it. Oh, I bet we can fit something in those 3 holes. Most of those are in the first half of the game.
Yeah.
And in the second half, it just becomes less and less so. The game becomes much more straightforward. It just becomes shooting sequence after shooting sequence, and I feel like they make up for all of the clever level design is in the village and in probably the first half of that castle. And then from there, about halfway through the castle, they just start relying on gimmicks. Oh, this is a lava room with moving heads, and you got to shoot the guys off the heads to get going forward. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. There's nothing clever there. And then, I just think as the game continues, I just think the level design becomes more and more linear and less interesting. The color palette just becomes gray. And granted, it starts very brown. And then it's gray through the castle, but there's some reds and blues and things going on in there, and they change the time of day and so forth, and they'll make it rain halfway through the village sequence. And I think the church is kind of cool to explore and neat, and the ideas of the church are expanded upon in the castle and so forth. But it's literally as soon as you get to the castle, you feel the game bottleneck. And I think it's bottlenecked, but still open enough to where it's still fun for me. But as soon as we get to the island, my interest in the game drops off dramatically. I think this game is too long. It took me 14 hours to beat this game. Connor, I asked you to find your stats. Did you find your stats?
18 hours.
It took you 18 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me 13 hours, 54 minutes, so just under 14. I had a hit ratio of 80%, enemies killed 930, number of times killed 34 times. Do you have the rest of your stats? No, you don't have those stats. That's fine. Anyway, so like, I was playing and I was like, I'm having a good time. It's fun. I do agree with you. I think the gameplay is fun. I think it is fun to shoot. I think it is fun to bust out all of your weapons and stuff. I wish there was hotkeys to switch to my different weapons like there are in later versions of the game. And, something that they fix literally in Resident Evil 5. But and so it's kind of annoying having to dig through your inventory to switch a weapon real quick. But, they don't do anything annoying with it. The game pauses for you to switch your inventory stuff out and so forth and still have that fun.
But it was annoying to break up the pace of the gameplay with, I'm going to go into my inventory and press equip on the gun for the 15th time.
Yeah. It leads into, that's a big criticism of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, where they're like, oh man, every like fucking 5 seconds I'm jumping into my inventory to switch my camo out. This, I think, I have that critique for this game. I don't have it for Snake Eater. But I have it here because it's so necessary. Whereas in Snake Eater, it's still the quick, all right, hold the button real quick, switch to your weapon real quick, all right, you're there. Where here it's like, tap, pull up the thing, scroll to the thing. You're only scrolling one box at a time. So depending on how your inventory is laid out, it might take you a couple more button presses to get to the weapon you want. Confirm, back out. You might have to click back twice, depending on where you are in the menu. And then aim, shoot, and then by that time you're in a mess. It's messy. Did I die twice to these fucking dogs?
You looked like you had low health and you were trying to tank your way through it.
That's what I was doing.
Shotgun out. What were you doing?
I don't know, man. I feel like that's what I was doing. Oh, you know what? This is that gun that shoots through 2 people. So right there, I had 2 dogs lined up perfectly. So I spent too long shooting those 2 dogs instead of focusing on the one that was about to attack me. That's what happened right there. Anyways, but a lot of things that are satisfying, I think a lot of the mechanics and systems in these games are still satisfying to this day. I think it does feel still good to shoot. I think it still feels good to shoot in this game. I think, the slow progression and build of your health bar as you play through the game is still satisfying to see and still satisfying to play out, where like at first you're taking, I don't know, 3 hits maybe, and then you're dead, and then, by the end of the game you're taking like, closer to 10 hits before you're down.
Which you need to, because that game gets... They throw enemies at you.
They throw a lot of enemies at you. And it's just when they start fucking throwing minigun guys at you, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I remember that from 5, and it doesn't...
It sucks in 5, too. What?
It's worse in this one, it seems. I don't know why. It seems like...
Oh, I disagree. I think it's worse in 5.
Because at least with 5, they seemed like a threat, whereas in this one, it seemed like more, I'm going to waste a bunch of ammo, because they didn't really react all that much to me. I'd be in their field of vision, in their shot, and they wouldn't be responding to me, and I would just shoot them with the Magnum or the shotgun or the sniper, and it's like, oh, you're stunned now.
And then you're just all right. Wait for you to stop flinching. Yeah. Pop. All right. Wait for you to stop flinching. Pop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doing this exact same thing. I think a lot of the smaller little tips and tricks of this game are cute and stuff. So like for example, upgrading your weapon's ammo capacity gives you extra bullets. So you finish a combat encounter and you don't reload your gun because there might be a merchant around the next corner that you can go and get an extra 15 bullets out of him by not reloading first.
Yeah, I mean one of the things I did was I got the upgrade that gives the it's when you upgrade the assault rifle, the submachine gun all the way, and the final one is you get how many rounds was it? It was like 999 or some shit like that.
What?
No, what was the fucking round?
No, it's like 150 or some shit.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, you shoot that gun forever.
Yeah, I got it right before the final boss fight, and I didn't worry about ammo that entire boss fight.
Neither did I, but for different reasons. No. But yeah, I think upgrading your guns and feeling that progression feels good. I think new guns are given to you at a good pace to where like you don't feel like you never have that issue where you're like, okay, I've put a lot into this gun, and right now it's more powerful than the gun I could buy. And so I'm gonna keep using my old gun, and then you just never get the new shit.
Yeah,
that never happens.
No. Yeah, I actually remember that was an issue I had with Village, where I felt like I was with the way the leveling up went. You got the level up supplies, the currency, really slow in comparison to this game. And so by the time those guns would come out, I was like, well, I've spent so much time and effort, and am I going to really get these new ones as strong as these ones? Yeah. And with this one, as you said, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to get the automatic shotgun. That one seems good right out the gate. Yeah. The cool-looking pistol, the red 95. I
didn't use the red 9. I was a what's the other one? Blacktail.
The final one or the one before the Red 9? The one that shoots twice? Which one's
No. You get the one that the one that shoots through enemies. You get by popping enough of the blue medallions through the village.
Yeah, I got
You get that one for free. That's the Punisher.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you get the Red 9 about that amount of time. And the Red 9 is the strongest pistol in the game.
Yes.
But the Blacktail is overall, like, it's got the best stats, like, overall. Like, it's not the most powerful, but, like, it's got the biggest clip. And it shoots the fastest. And then, quicker reloads and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's, like, a good all-around versus a full powerhouse.
Which gives you that nice customizability.
Right.
Access to all these different guns and upgrading these
Right.
guns.
And I feel like I like the debate with the pistols of like, oh, I like the Red 9 or I use the Blacktail because the pistol is the main weapon that you still use in this game. It's a Resident Evil game, But I do like when they hand out other versions of other guns, like the rifle. Like you get the rifle and you're like, okay, yeah, this is fine, but it's really slow and I have to hit my shots. And then you get that semi-automatic version. You go, oh, this is way better.
Yep.
This is that like not only is it stronger, not only can I reload the gun faster, but I got that semi-auto, so I'm shooting faster, and the clip is bigger and stuff. Like it's just the progression and the pace in which they hand out weapons and weapon upgrades is perfect.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Good progression. Puzzles, since we're coming up on this,
Mm-hmm.
I found them fun. They weren't too difficult. They didn't slow down the pace of the game as much. I mean, I didn't get stuck on them ever. So I enjoyed it. They were nice and.
I could have used more complex puzzles.
Yeah, I know you could have.
I could have done. They were a little simple for me. I could have used a little more complexity in them. But they're also, this game is 15 years old, so like the idea of puzzles in games, 15 plus years old. We're almost on that 20-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I just think like this one was cute. This that we're showing right now with the church with the lights. That one was cute. I think behind the church where you had to like get the graves and then the 3 or the 4. That one was cute. From there, I don't know. I moved a couple blocks around, and I found some stones and put the stones together, and I was like, this is fine. This is good. There's that one where they give you a painting, and there's like a bunch of clues as to what you might have to shoot on the painting, and it's the bottle of wine. But I don't know if it's because the game is so old and I can see the asset better, or if it just looked that way even back in the day. But it's so clearly the bottle of wine, just by like you don't even need to read the clues. You can just be like, that's not on the painting. I'm gonna shoot that.
I had the same exact moment where I went up to that and I was like, is that something I can check? I guess it's a collectible. And I shot it and I was like, puzzle done. What?
Oh, it was a puzzle? Yeah. All that was fine. And then, you're like moving lasers. Like, as you said, they were fine. They're simple. I could have used some more complex ones that we see in games like Resident Evil 2 Remake. So there were some more complex puzzles in Resident Evil 7. And I would have liked some more of that. But this game is an action game. It's more focused on keeping that pace up, keep it high. The puzzles are fun and cute and welcome. And I do appreciate that they're not, as like, fuck, man, what the fuck do I do? As some of the ones you see in some of the other games.
Yeah. Now it came up on screen. Good time to talk about Ashley, right? Because I never played, like I said, Resident Evil 4, but I remember people gushing about it because it had only come out. I think I was privy to when did this game release?
2004.
2004, yeah. I don't know.
2005. Excuse me.
I remember people talking about this game and gushing about it. And one of the things I saw was people complaining to high heaven about Ashley.
About Ashley.
They hated her.
Yeah.
They found her annoying. They said she got in the way of gameplay. She was easily the worst part about this game. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to deal with stupid bullshit.
It's a whole escort mission, but the video game. Totally not a problem at all.
No, you can make her stay back.
Yep.
You can get her to hide in things.
Yep.
They never found her in my cases when I got her to hide in those places.
No, if she hides in a dumpster, she's 100% safe.
Yeah, it was the easiest thing, and honestly, it was welcome to have another body there going through this. Because, Resident Evil, usually you're the solo guy.
Yeah.
It's nice just having she's not in the way.
No, she's not. She stays right real close to you as long as you're good about, there's no like dodging mechanics. So really it's just positioning in the environment that is like the biggest difficulty. As long as your positioning is good, you're taking good notice of your surroundings and you know where the enemies are. Ashley is going to take so little hits and be in danger so few times. The only time, and even you're like, oh, you can have her fold back. The only time I had her hold back is when you first enter the castle grounds and they're launching catapults at you.
Oh, yeah,
Because Leon can take a hit at that point, or at least I could. She can't.
Yeah, she never.
Also, never waste a yellow herb on Ashley.
Dude, I only did. I got her health all the way almost up because I was like, I don't need these anymore. My health's full. So I keep finding them. So
I kept using them for myself just in case there was like a hidden number in the background that I couldn't see. I was like, maybe, I'm at 10, but it's like 10 of 10, but like maybe I can get 11 of 10 and the game just isn't telling me.
I did that, and when I realized, I was like, oh, I didn't get it. Yeah, maybe there's.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
I thought there was maybe. Is there a trophy connected to her getting her health all the way up?
Couldn't tell you.
I
don't think so. I'll say this: trophy list for this is atrocious.
It is
12 trophies, no platinum. All focused around killing bosses that you don't need to kill, or playing alternate modes and doing things like that. I totally disappointed in the trophy list for this game, especially because Resident Evil 5 and 6 ports got platinums, and this game is just as long, if not longer, than those games, arguably. So it's just like, why did this one, the fan favorite, the one that everybody loves, and the one that everyone's going to buy, why did we not get a platinum trophy here?
It wasn't on their itinerary for remaking this game.
Sucks. Trash. Hate it. Anyways. I don't get it either. I'll say vocally super annoying.
Sure.
Leon, help! Yeah, no. Where are you going, Leon? No, all of that grating, and she's yelling when she's trapped in the wall. Help! I'm not being dramatic. It is that the whole time. Like, it's so annoying whenever that happens. I hate it. Even the dog is pissed off from me imitating it. Anyways, excuse my dog. Yeah, no, I totally feel like the complaints about Ashley are totally taken out of, like, totally not necessary. Why are people complaining about that?
Maybe people had a massive skill issue.
And also, she's not in the game that much.
Yeah, I thought she would be in there more.
Me too.
Take it away.
Dude, even in my memory, I'm like, oh yeah, like there's segments where you don't have Ashley, but once you have Ashley, for a lot of the game, you do. No, totally not. No, in the 14-hour runtime, maybe 4 of those hours you have Ashley next to you.
Yeah.
You
don't even have to protect her in boss fights.
She goes and hides, like, or like there are scripted moments where it's like, all right, enemies are coming in. You have to hold off this location. You think of the scene in the cabin with Luis. Ashley just goes and hides in a fucking cabinet.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Any of the parts where it could have been difficult to keep her alive.
They make the right choice.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They flawless way to do an escort mission as far as this game's concerned.
I think it's great. Yeah. I really enjoy it. And I think all of the criticism of it led them down a path that, it makes sense. They received this criticism, so they go, okay, so for this next one, how do we fix it? We give the secondary character a gun. We make them your partner. We put them on the same level as you. Well, if that's the case, let's make it a co-op game. Yep. And then if there's not a second player, then it's an AI-driven thing or whatever. And, the AI can help you out, heal you when you're in trouble and all these things. All these things make sense. Execution is something to be debated, but it makes sense. And then, but by the time you get to Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil is no longer Resident Evil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we lose all of those things that made Resident Evil, which is still alive here. The puzzles, the inventory management, even though it's different here. And I love the inventory management in this game. I think it's fantastic.
What's as impressive as I thought it'd be more of a, like I said, I just had it cluttered because I never once had an issue with space.
It's 100% like if it fits in you both things are valid, where it's like I sit there and I organize it and I keep it nice and neat and everything has its place. And what's funny is you can see your choices evolve over time. Like like you see all of my ammos on the right side and then it's color coordinated and then it's on the same plane as the gun. Initially I had the ammo right next to the gun necessary, but then I was like, it'd be a lot cleaner if I just put them all on the right side, and I'm gonna make it look nice and clean and stuff. And down below is where my health items go, up top is where my grenades go, and then from there, you've just kind of figure it out. I did have moments where I was like, fuck, I can't pick this up, I have to figure something out, and it's be like, oh, okay, let me just use the shotgun a little bit and I'll be fine. Or all right, well, I have like, I'm not at full health. I have like this egg. I'll just eat this egg. I wasn't planning on eating this egg right now, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah. I would use eggs pretty constantly.
Yeah. But like, even like, to my point of like, I had more trouble in the early segments of the game with inventory because like there were items you could pick up, like you could kill the fish in the little ponds and stuff and pick up the fish, and the fish are valuable to sell to the merchant, or you can use them as health items. So now you have like a risk reward of like, okay, do I want to hold on to these and sell them, or do I want to use them as health items, or do I not want to bother at all?
Yeah.
There's some choice there and some player agency there. None of that is past the village area. Nothing, not at all. They do a clever bit in these tunnel segments that we just saw in the gameplay where you shoot a lamp and then suddenly the room is glittering with different treasure items and so forth that you couldn't see before because the lamp was covering them up. That's not in the later game at all. Like, in fact, what is there on the island? There's the cat. You have the cat where you put the eyes back in the cat, and that's it. Where every other segment had 2 to 3 different little treasure items that you had to hold on to increase their value, increase their worth.
Could have done those aspects of the game better.
Yeah, I just feel like all of their great ideas were in the first half of this game, and in the second half they were like, we're out of good ideas, so let's have a boss gauntlet, and then now let's... I really felt it in the boss encounter where you're fighting that monster with the scorpion tail in the hanging cage.
Yes.
Yeah, that boss fight, go fuck that fight. Fuck that fight. That fight sucks.
Honestly, the boss fights in general aren't that great.
I mean, they're not, but there's some ones that I like. I like when you fight, the Mr. X inspired character in the barn that's on fire. That's a fun fight. I like that fight.
That actually was a good one.
Salazar was an entertaining fight. Even though I totally, cheesed it and used a rocket launcher on him and killed him instantly.
I did that not knowing it was going to kill him instantly.
Yeah. Did you do the thing where, like, you have to wait for him to pop out so that you can do real damage? And then I used the RPG. So there's like the little head, the little eyeball that you shoot a few times and then he pops out. That's what I did. And then the right-hand man, the little guy who's like hunting you through the tunnels that you just have to like, you can either like wait it out or use the little like cryo cans to freeze him up and do damage to him. Did you kill him, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Apparently, I did not kill him my first playthrough because I got the trophy for it this time.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know why that happened. I think I died to that boss like 3 times, though.
Yeah, he was honestly more annoying as well because he's a gimmick boss fight.
He is a gimmick fight, yeah. But I enjoyed it personally.
Yeah, once you realized it was like, okay, this is what you do, and it was pretty simple going forward.
Did you also make the mistake where after playing Resident Evil 5 where there's like a gimmick fight just like that except that you have to shoot the canisters instead of knock them over?
Yeah.
Yeah, were you also trying to shoot them and
Yes,
you were like, I can't shoot it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that same mistake.
Oh well, that's what happens when you play the 5th game before the 4th.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Which actually would have probably tricked us up if we did play the 4th one before the 5th one. It would confuse us in that game.
I mean, in the 5th one, you still knock them down. It's just you have to shoot them
Oh yeah.
after knocking them down, or you can just shoot them out the gate. Whatever. Yeah, I think overall, this is of those 3 action-oriented games, this is the best of them.
By far. Yeah.
But I think I still like 5 more personally,
Yeah,
like, because I just have a lot of fondness for 5, and I think having it with a co-op partner makes it a lot more entertaining, a lot more fun.
If not, it's definitely worse.
Huh?
If not co-op, you don't have someone with
Oh,
you.
for sure, because the AI is so terrible in
Yeah.
5. But yeah, my revisiting this game actually improved it a lot in my mind, and I thought it was actually, a pretty fun time, and I really, really enjoyed playing through it. But yeah, I just felt like it went on too long. I think the story is nonsensical.
Yes.
I don't like the campy tone that Resident Evil 4 adopts here. Like, I like it, but I don't like it because it's not Resident Evil to me.
No, it's not. No. It's a turn away from that.
Even though Resident Evil has always been a little tongue-in-cheek, Jill's Sandwich, and even all the way up until Resident Evil 2 remake, like, characters are still saying one-liners, and you're in a police department that's ridiculously over-designed and stuff like that. So like all that's kind of campy, and it's like 80s B movie horror instead of like here. It's like, no, we know it's a circus. Like, we know it. The best way I can describe it is Resident Evil. My favorite Resident Evil games play more like a haunted house. This plays more like a circus, where like you're just going from different attraction to attraction to attraction, and we're having goofy one-liners and clown type characters lead you from set piece to set piece. Whereas in like Resident Evil 2, it's like, hey, this is a haunted house. You were gonna be scared the whole time, but just know that it's we know that it's at the end of the day it is a game. Whereas at the end of the day, the haunted house, we're not actually gonna touch you. You're not actually in danger. Like it's like stuff like that.
far as its placement as Resident Evil games go, from what I've played, I'd say, as you said, action-oriented is the best, even though I...
Which, to be fair, you and I have played the same amount of games, haven't we? Because we both touched the Resident Evil 1 remake.
I played so much. I should have finished it. I had no reason.
Oh, you got way farther than I did then.
I got too scared.
We've both played all of the modern games, 7, 2 remake, 3 remake, Village. I've replayed 2 and 3 multiple times. I've played 7 a couple of times. And then, both you and I have played 5 and 6 the same amount. And then it was just this one. So, like...
Not including spin-off games, of course.
Oh, no. Just the main... Yeah. But, congratulations, Connor. You've played every mainline Resident Evil game. Arguably, you've played more than I have.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And you're the bigger fan.
Oh, I've got replays under my belt, so go fuck yourself,
Platinums, of course.
I've got a couple platinums. I'm working on another one right now.
I got platinum too, though. Let's be quite honest.
You got 1. You got 5 because I dragged you through it.
One of the only platinums I own.
I'm saying.
But I think this was better than... definitely better than 6.
Oh, for sure.
But I think better than 7 by a pretty good margin. And 3. The remake of 3.
Definitely a lot more fun. And I'll agree that it's better than 3. I don't know if it's better than 7.
Not 7.
I don't know.
No,
Definitely more fun than 7. Definitely controls better than... You know what? I'm with you. 7 is better than 7.
Yeah.
This is better than Village.
It's I don't know. I can't give an outright answer because it could change.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head right now, just because it has some other ideas that I think were executed better, and I had played Resident Evil 5, so this was a familiar game to play.
Yeah.
Village had a more unique feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would right now say Village, but it's neck and neck.
I think objectively this is the second best behind RE2 Remake.
Yeah.
And then, but in terms of my personal ranking of how I like them, it drops quite a few spots. I like both the remake games better. I like both 7 and 8 better. No, I like 5 better. Like,
I think I do too.
It's just a thing where it's just like, I feel no need to ever revisit this game. And to be fair, we only played the main campaign one time through. There are all alternate modes and, different side stories and stuff. You play as Ada and, figure out her side of the story through the side modes.
Did that for a bit.
Did you really?
The issue, as you touched on earlier, is the story sucks. So,
Yeah, so I don't care.
Yeah, because it's rehashed environments. It's not new ones. It explains why why certain things happen in the game and how much she helped Leon out.
Yeah.
For character reasons, it was good, but story it was just more nonsensical stuff. And things involving Wesker that I know doesn't matter because he gets beat by the rock puncher. So it's not really.
And the story is so 2005 where it's like, we haven't had a cutscene in a long time, so let's put this cutscene in to reintroduce the stakes. So now characters are going to show up that you were not with, and they're going to be like, hey, Leon, what's up? Mm-hmm. And it's just to reintroduce... I think the most egregious one is near the end of the game. Leon is losing his mind to the parasite that's been injected in him or whatever, which I think is going to be really cool in the remake.
Yeah.
And then Ada just walks in. She's just there. And then he chokes her a little bit, and she knocks him out, and then he's fine, and then she leaves, and it's just like that entire 3-minute cutscene, if it's even that long, was entirely just to remind the player that Leon has this parasite within him. But it doesn't affect gameplay. It doesn't have any narrative issues. As soon as we leave that room, every single character doesn't care about the thing that happened in that room anymore. Like,
and it literally introduces a Deus Ex Machina to solve the problem. Like, there's the machine that takes it out, radiation, and that's why you say it doesn't matter to the story, because really you didn't.
Yeah.
You could have not had that entire plot at all, and it would have played out the same way.
Why is Luis in this game? I'll tell you why. It's so in the notes they can give you hints as to beat the next encounter. Mm-hmm. So like it'll be like, oh man, there's like these bug-like creatures. Well, how do we introduce these bug-like creatures? Oh, Luis encountered them. And then you start seeing you're like on the island, you're still getting notes from Luis, and I'm like, when the fuck was Luis here? Yeah. I thought he came in around the same time as I did. Like,
well, no, because he had been working with them up until that point. He was responsible for the research, which is why he knew about all that stuff.
Yeah.
He monitored it in a research facility. So it does explain that, but beyond Luis, a lot of his stuff was tied to the sample that was supposed to cure you. So with this next game, like you said, I feel like they'll do that better justice, and hopefully that means they'll do Luis better justice.
Now, let's have a quick conversation real quick about the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's coming in March. as of time of this recording. We are in fucking what month is this? August. By the time this goes, so we got a couple months left. Connor, what would you like to see from this remake? You know, we've seen 2 and 3, and we've seen what those have done and sort of how they've played out like this. And now that we've played 4, how would you like them to adapt this into a remake styled game?
Well, I think the biggest change that they need to do is overhaul the entire story, because it's going to include more Ada scenes, and Ada as a character is going to be revolutionized, rewritten,
reimagined.
Reimagined, because 6 doesn't happen. 5 isn't going to happen the same way.
No.
So, I want them to do better things with those 2 characters, and more importantly, the Resident Evil story as a whole. Because it seems like it really hasn't, even with the reintroduction of these new games, hasn't done much to, shake up the plot roll. It seems like it's just kind of lingering right now and not giving you full answers. I mean, like in Resident Evil 7 in Village, it seems like you go through it and questions aren't really, questions are answered, but not overall questions that would make the entire story come into a greater focus with what they're doing. So I think now is a really good time to write some good stuff to make it actually a more prominent part of these games and a positive as opposed to a negative as it's been in the past. Because Resident Evil story, as many people know, has lots of problems.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 5 and 6 being the greatest offenders of this war crime, but. So I want them to change that. As I said before, more interesting stuff with the Luis and the being infected. Maybe actually have some weight to it this time around, rather than just a single cutscene, which seemed.
Maybe there are segments of the game where you can't control your character the way that you want to, or something, or something goes wrong, and you have to. What I would really like to see is. I agree with you. I'd like a more focused story, something that, makes a little more sense and plays out. And I would like some cutscenes to play out and have some really great character moments that, hit hard. I think of the gun shop owner in 2, where in the original game, he's just kind of there and then he gets eaten by zombies and that's it. And in the remake, there's a very loving moment where he, his daughter comes out and she's infected and he's angry and hurt and confused and he doesn't know what's going on. And I think that, emotionally resonates very, very well with the audience. I'd like to see that put here in the remake here. I would like the tone to return to survival horror. I want less camp going on, less circus events. I want it to play more like that haunted house I was talking about before. And I think mechanically, I would like it to play like somewhere between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, where like maybe we have upgrades where like our stability on our guns gets a little stronger or something, and at first like it is hard to hit, but as we continue it gets easier and so forth. I would like a lot more risk reward feelings with I want every bullet to count again. Maybe a reduction in arsenal. Maybe there's not so many guns. Maybe there's a lot less ammo and just a couple of grenade options and so forth, like there is in the remakes. I assume we're gonna cut down on numbers of enemies and so forth, and I'd like a much more intricately designed village and intricately designed castle, to the point of like when you're exploring these things, like in 2 remake, when like okay. In the Grand Foyer, there's 3 zombies in there. I know there's 3 zombies in there, but I crippled one by taking out one of its legs. So one of them is a crawler. The other 2 are still walking. Things like that. I'd like that in the remake. And to sort of balance that and to add another element of risk reward, I'd like it to be like, okay, quickest way to take out these villagers is getting some headshots. Headshot, I can knock them out maybe 2-3 shots. But if I get them in the head, there's a chance of a parasite popping. And if a parasite pops, that's a problem. That's a huge resource drain. That's a huge way to take a lot of damage, unnecessary damage, and so forth like that. And I don't know. I'd like to see them play around with some of those mechanics that we're playing with in RE2, but just expanded on with the story elements of 4 to have the Las Plagas work in this environment like that. I don't know how we incorporate Ashley into this remake.
You see, I was thinking about that, because what they could do is do something similar to what Resident Evil 7 did, where you have segments, do it differently, but have segments where you switch from Ethan's perspective over to his wife's perspective, where she's trying
They did this in the 2 remake as well, where you switched from Claire to
Ashley?
No, the girl's name
Shirley Bergen?
Shirley Birkin. Yeah. And you played as her. Maybe there's just a segment where you play as Ashley, or a couple segments where you play as Ashley. There's a segment where you play as Ashley in this game.
Yeah. Maybe in that situation, bring it back to the first-person view, because it's not supposed to be combat-oriented. It's supposed to be scary.
That's interesting. I like that idea.
Yeah.
You know, we saw. I'm sure you don't remember, but in the very beginning of the Resident Evil 3 remake, there is a first-person segment where you're just going around the apartment. It's just to set the tone, and then Nemesis comes after you and it turns into an action game. But I really like the tone that they're setting with the remake series, and I'd like to see that with this game. And if the level design hits in the way that I want it to, especially with those first two environments, I think the chances of this game being a masterpiece are through the roof.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. There's a lot of upward mobility this game can have in relation to how good it is. I mean, I'm more excited now than I was before. Now that I've actually got my hands on the game and seeing the areas where there is improvement, and there's even things that I didn't touch on that they can improve on, like my head earlier. Maybe you can go into parts where you play as Ada, where, because obviously they had some kind of interest in telling her side of the story, and she had an impact on it.
Yeah.
Maybe have moments where you switch over to her, kind of like when going back to Resident Evil 7, just moments, third person in this case, obviously, and doing fun, interesting gameplay things that only are available to Ada. Using the grappling hook, maybe turning into a stealth game more than an action game, because Ada does seem a lot less loud than characters like Leon and Chris.
All that makes sense to me. I like all that. I would personally like a cut down on bosses in 4. I only want, to be honest, I'm cool with just having the ones that matter. The fucking bodyguard, Mr. X looking ass dude, Salazar, and then Sadler.
And Gigante. They would have to include.
You have to do an El Gigante, but I feel like Gigante works more like, remember the alligator segment in the RE2 remake where you're running down the thing, something more along those lines as opposed to like the fight that we get here.
Yeah, actually, especially that second time you fight two of them.
Totally unnecessary.
Yeah,
totally unnecessary. Yeah.
That's where I died most, to be honest, as well.
That fight?
Yeah, I just could not kill those guys. Okay.
Interesting.
To go for the,
do you know how many times you died?
No, I don't.
No, you don't? What a shame.
That up, though, right?
What a shame. I have no idea.
No.
No idea. Anyways. But yeah, I'm continuously more and more excited for a Resident Evil 4 remake. I'd love to see those character dynamics evolve and grow. I want conversations between Leon and Ada to be tense because they left off on not the greatest of terms.
Yeah.
I think it's weird that Umbrella dies off screen between 3 and 4. That's strange.
They were the villain of 1 through 3. They were the cause of everything.
Yeah, and then they come back into being the cause in later games. So I would really like them to flush that out and have like some great cutscenes and storytelling in that way.
Maybe be against the backdrop of their fall. Like Chris, for example, would be mainly doing things like that. Yeah. Whereas Leon just happens to come across their operation while looking for the
exactly. And then but yeah, I'm just excited for all the opportunity that we have with this remake, and I hope it becomes the definitive version of this game. This game will always exist. It's on every goddamn platform known to man, so you can find it.
And I guarantee you it's going to come out for the future ones whenever those might
be. For sure. If we're not just going to get like a PS5 update for them, but maybe we won't. You never know.
Yeah, with the remake, I doubt it.
Yeah, right? Because they just gave us updates for 2, 3, and 7. So I think this is like their new idea of canon going forward. This is where we want to go. But yeah, some of those boss fights I just don't need. I don't need that scorpion hanging cage fight. Like I don't need that. I can't even think of any of the other ones because they're so the fight with the knights.
Oh, that was stupid.
I don't think we need that. I think if we do those first person Ashley segments, I think that'll be cool.
Immortal Knight. It would give some credence as to why she's also not doing anything to them.
Yeah, and then you have slower moving targets, that are dangerous, but like their hits are telegraphed and so forth, so it's easy to dodge them, and you know what I'm saying.
Especially if you're making a game that's not based on first person and you just introduce it for a little bit, it makes sense to give that kind of leeway.
Yeah,
that's not what the player would be used to at that point. And
exactly.
No reason to get them used to it since it's only a single segment.
It's only in this very specific segment. There's just a lot of things of like. Remember this moment from the original game? We're going to take it, we're going to tweak it, we're going to give it purpose. There's a lot of things that it's just like, okay, this is the part where you do this thing. and then now we're moving on to the next thing.
Yep.
You know, whereas like I think giving them purpose mechanically from a design perspective would go a long way here. Did you have trouble in this cabin? I had trouble in this cabin.
I did it pretty easily. I was just watching because it's so fun to watch. It's fun to watch this game.
It is fun to watch. It is fun to watch. I think pulling back on a lot of the moves, like a lot of the like throwing kicks and roundhouses and stuff, I don't think we need those.
Also, causing the bane of quick time events. I know that's going to not be in this game, but because it started the trend for that from everything.
More or less, yeah. This was the big game that really put quick time events on the map, and I think it's done fairly well here. But, you know, just not necessary. Putting QTEs in cutscenes is just not necessary. Like, if you want to flash something real quick on the screen to, like, make me do something, fine. But, you know, I think we've, as an industry, have figured out where QuickTime events lie.
Yeah, the only one I liked that QuickTime events was, honestly, in 5. I found them very funny a lot of the time.
Yeah, because they're ridiculous, you know, but they suck. You know, they're not fun.
Technically, they suck. But...
You know? But, you know, you think of something to like the Spider-Man, Insomniac Spider-Man game where they use QuickTime events in a way of like making you feel badass. And, you know, they slow it down and they give you plenty of time to press the button and so forth. And it's purely just for the spectacle purposes. If we're going to have spectacle in this game, I want something like that. I don't want Ashley to be a fucking idiot. You know, there's that moment where she like runs ahead of Leon and then spikes come up and she gets trapped. Don't do that. Don't make her an idiot. Like, give us a definitive version of this character that is respectable and we like and so forth.
Can maybe be drawn on in the future. You know?
Exactly. So
potential for a character right there that was kind of wasted in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very, very curious as to how they're going to implement a lot of these things. Are we going to see a tyrant type enemy, do you think, in Resident Evil 4?
You know, to be honest, I don't think it needs it.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, that's too much.
I mean, maybe through the village, you have him, you know, hunting you through the village. But I mean, they did it in 8 with Lady D. Lady D is that tyrant type character for a very small part of that game. So, you know, we'll see. Maybe just for a little bit, or you know, you have Salazar's right hand man actually chasing you, and you can't hurt him. We have the regenerators, which we didn't even talk about. What do you think about the regenerators?
I liked them, honestly.
I think they're fucking ridiculous.
Scary way to... You don't like them at all?
No.
No. Well, sorry, buddy.
I understand that the parasites are invisible to the naked eye. Why can't I shoot them without the fucking rifle?
I never used anything but the rifle. I can understand maybe at
Well,
the end.
like, if I don't have rifle ammo, I scope it. I know it's on his lower hip, so I'm going to start shooting my pistol on his lower hip. Nothing. Zip, zero, nada.
Yeah.
They're creepy, though.
They're...
They're just a little, like, heavy...
Yeah. I hate those.
The ones with the spikes, though, fuck that.
They didn't even seem like they were effective sub-enemy type. They just kind of...
It was annoying. They just kept grabbing me. I lost a lot of health to those guys. A lot of health.
I would shut... My gameplay would, you know, slow to a crawl. The moment I heard one of those guys, I always had sniper rifle ammo. I always did.
Oh, so did I. I just didn't have as much as I would have liked. And, you know, I would have an abundance of pistol ammo or SMG ammo or something. And,
I always had an abundance of rifle ammo. I was always struggling for handgun ammo. Funny. Well,
I was good for a long time until the end. The end, I started struggling. I don't know why. You know, always good on shotgun though.
Shotgun's all reliable. Never has not been in
good shotgun in this game. Good feeling.
Yeah, it is. I use the striker inevitably because it's just kind of better than the pump action.
Just fucking shoots. Shoots a lot.
Though I did like the pump action over the second shotgun you could have gotten.
Really?
It has more spread. Which
I liked that second one way more than the first. You know. Sadler as a boss fight, not my favorite thing in the world. It was okay.
It was anticlimactic. I thought it would be...
I think the whole game is anticlimactic.
The ending generally is.
You know? So yeah, I'm very curious. The Merchant. What do you think about the Merchant? Merchant showing up in the remake, do you think? You have to, right?
You had him in... He worked in Village.
Oh, he worked in Village. That's right. We had a Merchant type character in Village.
I hope they don't do him again. I hope it's this guy.
I want it to be this guy.
Yeah, he's so cool. I hope they give him more dialogue than just the iconic, what do you buy?
Well, I think also giving him some narrative purpose would work, because the guy in Village had narrative purpose.
Yeah, and
you know?
Works. He was a nice, calm person in that storm of the game.
But he's also an asshole, you know, and
but
you enjoy, he was the fun asshole that you liked, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, yeah, overall, Resident Evil 4, it's a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot. Connor, do you want to rank these games as we go along?
Sure.
Yeah? So, This is our second video of, or a second review of our 2-penny game club here. Our first one was done with The Last of Us Remastered. So now, let's have a conversation, Connor. Which one's a better game here, Resident Evil 4 or Last of Us Remastered? Both survival horror-esque games. Both heralded as some of the greatest video games of all time.
Okay.
Both had huge resonance. You know, this game did a lot for third-person shooters. Resident Evil 4 did a lot for third-person shooting in terms of mechanics. Last of Us, you know, gave us the ability to have world-renowned stories that, you know, it's no longer a good story for a video game. It's just a good story now, you know, because of Last of Us. So, you know, like we sit here and we go, which one's better, Connor? Which one do we like better? Which one's more good?
Last of Us.
It's Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Great game, but Last of Us is more impactful in pretty much every area.
Yeah. I mean, it's not fair. There's almost 10 years difference between the two games.
Yeah.
You learn a lot from The Last of Us, but I think just that narrative impact, and I think mechanically, Last of Us still mostly holds up.
Yeah.
In some ways, it holds up better than this game.
We never rammed on the combat on this one, but it isn't, you know, it's Resident Evil.
Oh, it's dated.
Yeah.
It's I think even 5 plays way better than this game does, personally.
Way better, really.
I just think the control of the camera and the way the guns feel and the way you aim. I hate that Leon's hands shake so much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sucks. And it's weird because like the camera control isn't tied to the right stick. Like you can like move the camera a little bit, but really if you want to look around and see, you just turn with the left. You're just turning.
Yeah.
It almost feels like tank controls. You know.
You know, kind of adds to an overall. When you're comparing it to Last of Us, makes that gameplay shine through more. Which we had some issues with it, but it's fresher. So Resident Evil 4 gets more leeway due to its age. But,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's an argument to be made. This game is more fun than The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, yeah. Fun,
you know.
Fun is a whole different. I mean, I would say I had more fun than Last of Us. But
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, just because the story and the characters were so entertaining to watch
Yeah.
and follow along with.
I think there's also just so much more intent in The Last of Us. There are set piece segments in The Last of Us that have much more purpose for being there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to keep harping on it because I really did not have a good time in it. But that hanging cage, why is that there?
You don't seem to like that at all.
I don't like it. It's just there for no fucking reason. And then, like, I really think the third act of this game is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they're just throwing dudes with guns at you. Resident Evil's never good when they're just throwing dudes with guns at you. Like, it's just not fun.
Yeah, keep the zombie-type stuff, we should say, mainly close quarters.
Yeah, keep it to monsters. Keep it to monsters and
Throwing
beasts
defenses.
and humanoids, you know, but don't give them fucking machine guns. What are we doing here? Oh, home dude with the knife. Evil Leon. Kruger. He sucked. He
so
sucked.
bad.
So bad.
As a character and as a boss fight.
It was a terrible fight. It was so bad.
Mhm.
Yeah. How do you introduce him into the remake? I don't even fucking know. How does that sequence play out?
Okay.
Do you just turn him into a monster and just have a monster fight?
He might be a cooler choice for someone to chase you around. Because we always get the monsters. We always get the evil things. The crazy things. But I can see him being a better character in that kind of light rather than just, I'm gonna show up and, you know,
I love the moment where, like, if you examine his dead body, if you go, Leon goes, oh, what happened to you? You used to be a good man. And I sit there and I go, who the fuck is this?
No depth for that character is possible, though. I mean,
If it's possible, we can have it. I wouldn't mind it. You know, I'll take it. It's just strange.
you see, what maybe an interesting thing to do with him is have him work alongside Leon to find the president's daughter. Not necessarily as a CPU to go along with you, but it's like, okay.
But as soon as you find Ashley, he turns and then,
because he was always against you from the get-go. And he's
maybe
just
he
there to make sure.
maybe you save Ashley, you play with Ashley for a little bit, and then he kidnaps her. You know, and then now you have, you know, you're like right before the castle, he kidnaps her or something like that. I don't know. These are ideas. They're not going to be implemented. Development on that game is too far, you know, in time.
They already did it without us knowing.
Yeah, you know, maybe they're smarter than us. I imagine they're probably smarter than us. You know,
I think they know how to make Resident Evil games.
I think they know how to. They've been on a pretty good tear lately. They've been on a pretty good tear.
At one point, I wouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt, but they've earned it now by far with all the things they've done. in the past couple of years.
Resident Evil's in a great place right now.
Yeah,
You know, I'm a little concerned about the future in terms of like past Resident Evil Village. But you know, in terms of a franchise as a whole, I'm very happy, and as a fan of it, I'm very happy with where Resident Evil is right now.
Well, what is
So yeah, Last of Us number 1, Resident Evil 4, number 2. You know, but both games great.
That'll be a harder question for me to answer next month. Our next game.
Next month, which Connor, you suggested, and I think it's a great idea. We failed last month to say it at the end of the episode, but we're doing it this time. Connor, we're gonna go play some Chrono Trigger. We're gonna go into the depths of gaming history. We're gonna go find ourselves some copies of Chrono Trigger. I'm gonna play on the PlayStation Vita.
I started on Steam.
You started it on Steam.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yesterday.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, play along with us. Spend the next month playing Chrono Trigger along with us, and then on let me find it on September 5th we will have a review for Chrono Trigger.
Yes.
2022 review.
See what's up with it.
So come along with us on that journey. Please comment down below. Do you agree with our takes? Do you hate our takes? Do you think we're idiots? Do you think is anybody like, God, finally somebody said it?
Say something.
Say something. Let us know how you felt about Resident Evil 4 and how it compares to The Last of Us down below.
It can't just be insults, by the way. I don't care. I'll get a laugh at him. Tavin will get a laugh at him. We'll all have a laugh at him.
We'll have a laugh. Phil will probably cry because he's a little big crybaby. Crybaby Phil.
Don't take this too personal.
Anyways.
He's trying to get you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our Two Penny Game Club and the end of the Two Penny Gamescast episode 106. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember, you can get full episodes of the Two Penny Gamescast Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/2pennygamescast, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Remember to watch us live, twitch.tv/2pennygames, where I did quite a few sessions of Resident Evil 4 up on that. And then catch us as Phil finishes his first playthrough of Resident Evil 4, twitch.tv/2pennygames, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central Time. Until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.